Hey, Erica, how are you? Can you hear me?
I can. How are you?
I'm good. I'm waiting for my girl. We was just on a hour call, so my battery. I'm charging my computer battery, so I'll be ready to hop on at one for sure. For sure.
That's
Get it.
okay. I'm gonna mute myself because I need to attach this video to the
Okay, go ahead.
slides.
I'll see you in
Okay.
a few. All right.
Okay, bye-bye.
Hi. Good afternoon. Someone just joined. How are you? How are you today?
I'm, I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Hold on. Let's get this camera. Adjust it. Hold on 1 second. All right. Go ahead, Erica.
Okay, let me go ahead and get my screen ready to share with you. And let me turn it on presentation form. Okay, so just to let you know, I'm a registered dietitian, been a registered dietitian for quite some time. Love it. And then I'm a mom of four. And over the years, I decided to become a doula because I just love it. So I love working with moms. I love working with babies. So therefore, that's why I decided to do both of those things together. Okay, can you see my screen? Okay, so I'm going to get started. This is from Plate to Pump, Eating Right for Lactation Success. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is the significance of nutrition during pregnancy and postpartum, because it's actually not something we hear about a lot. You know, there's a lot of information about nutrition as far as there's a lot of diet culture in our country, this is where we live at. There's a lot of talk about weight loss or different things like that, but there's not a lot of nutrition about pregnancy and postpartum, and it's not focused on. And especially as you move through the healthcare system, it's not something that you hear a lot about. Your doctor may mention it to you, but it's not something you hear quite a bit. So this is the importance of it is because it's important for not only the baby growth and development, it's important for long-term health care for moms. A lot of times we just think about our nutrition while we are pregnant, but I'm here to tell you it's important the entire time. It's just not something that you hear focused on, and it's something that you want to be paying attention to throughout your entire life. Of course, we get busy with babies and just life in general, but the more you pay attention to your health throughout your lifespan, the better life that you can have based on your health and your ability to do things with your family, because everybody wants to be healthy to take care of this baby that they're growing and that this baby that they have now, and everyone wants to partake in different activities, family activities and events, and not feel tired or too sluggish and things like that. So it's really important to pay attention to your long-term health. The other thing that we want to pay attention to nutrition for during pregnancy is for birth outcomes. Good nutrition helps decrease poor birth outcomes, our baby being too small, or even like the mom being very depleted after she gives birth. Breastfeeding is another very important time that nutrition is in the forefront, because adequate nutrition is required to make sure that you're doing enough and getting enough to nourish not only yourself, but another human being or human beings if you have multiples. It's also important for your postpartum recovery, because postpartum, a lot of things happen, a lot of things are going on. You want to make sure that you're being able to take care of yourself. So there's key nutrients. The nutrients I'm going to talk about today are some micronutrients. And micronutrients just means that you need them, but we don't consume them in very large amounts. Macronutrients are the nutrients that we consume in larger quantities. So like take, for instance, a macronutrient would be protein. And I focused on that because that's one of the macronutrients that we as females in generally do not get enough of. So that's why I went ahead and talked about it, because it plays an important role. So right here, you can see we're talking about iron. Iron is crucial because it helps prevent anemia, and anemia causes fatigue and weakness. Now, as you can imagine, being pregnant already causes fatigue. Having a new baby, you're going to be fatigued. So you want to do as much as possible that you can do to try to mitigate or try to make sure you don't end up having extra fatigue and weaknesses during pregnancy. And during pregnancy, extra iron is needed because your blood volume increases, and also your baby needs iron for development. And I wanted to go ahead and list how many milligrams you generally need when you're pregnant, because that way you could look and see how much your supplement or your prenatal vitamin gives you. And that'll give you a roundabout idea of like if you're getting a prenatal that provides all of it, or okay, my prenatal is kind of low in iron, so I need to make sure that I eat a little bit more of these sources of iron. So some good food sources for iron are red meat, poultry, fish, beans, lentils, fortified cereals, and also combining vitamin C rich food enhances their absorption. So you'll see later how I bring this out, because there's different things and combinations that you could eat to help your body absorb iron better. So take, for instance, almost in every culture, there's like a spaghetti and meatballs or noodles and meat type of combo. So for spaghetti and meatballs, so you have the iron in the meat that you add to your spaghettis. You have the high vitamin C in that tomato-based sauce that you're going to be using. So combining things together like that actually helps your body absorb it better. The next thing we're going to talk about is calcium. So we all heard about calcium, especially when we were younger, because everybody told us that we needed to grow strong bones. Well, this is needed to grow strong bones, not only for yourself, but also for your baby. And I just realized I may be missing some questions. So if I need to stop for questions, Rita or somebody, you could just come on and let me know, or I could just wait to the end for questions. So if you don't have an adequate intake of calcium during your pregnancy, it could lead to the baby drawing calcium from your bones actually, which can weaken them. So the recommended intake is in between 1,500 to 2,000 milligrams of calcium per day. Places you could get it, dairy products, fortified plant-based milk. So if you are a vegan or vegetarian, make sure that the milk that you do consume, whether it's almond milk or soy milk, is a fortified milk. You can get it from some leafy greens. A lot of people don't really think about leafy greens, but that's why you see kale on here, you see spinach on here, you see broccoli on here, because they are actually really good sources of calcium. Almonds are also really good sources of calcium. They also have walnuts listed on here. So nuts are a really good source of calcium as well. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is folate or folic acid. So a lot of times moms hear that they need to get folic acid. Then sometimes you may hear about folate, and you may wonder what's the difference. So basically, folate is the naturally occurring folate in the B vitamin that is occurs in food. Folic acid is the synthetic version. So this is what you'll see in your multivitamin. You'll see it says folic acid, and it'll tell you how much you have, milligrams you have. So the reason why it's important is very important even before you even have that positive pregnancy test, because it helps close what they call the neural tube part of the body. So basically the brain and the spine, where they connect in the baby's body, that folate is very important for making sure that that connection is done, and that can help prevent some birth defects in the spine and in the brain. Food sources, once again, leafy greens. After a while, you're going to start seeing a trend, okay? So leafy greens, citrus fruits, beans, fortified cereals and supplements. One of the things that I like to make sure my clients do is, depending on their culture, I want to make sure that they're eating foods that are culturally relevant to them. So take, for instance, if you come from a culture where asparagus is just not your thing and you don't like it, and maybe you like collard greens, then have collard greens. If you come from a culture where bok choy would be a better option for you, then make it bok choy. So whatever you're doing, I like to say to eat the things that you already like and make sure that they're included on there. So now you'll see that we talk about protein. So I talked about protein a little bit before, and you know that we say that women don't get enough of it. So protein is the building block of the body, and is crucial for tissue growth and repair for both yourself and the baby. A lot of women don't realize that when you are pregnant, you're actually creating an entirely new organ. You're making your placenta. That is an actual functioning organ that your body makes only for your pregnancy. So you can see why it's important that you get enough protein, because number one, your body's going to grow, you're growing another human, and you're growing another organ. So all of these things are important because it not only plays a part in your baby's organs and muscles, believe it or not, it plays a role in your baby's immune system, in your immune system. And we all know how life is post-COVID. We do not like when people sneeze around us. We do not like when people are sick around us. So one of the good things to do is to boost your immune system with what you're eating, not only just the vitamin C foods that we all hear about, the zinc we all hear about, but also making sure you're getting adequate protein can help out with that. So I put this a number on here because this is what's recommended, I believe, during your second trimester and third trimester, 71 grams per day of protein. It sounds like a lot, but when we really look at it, it's not a lot. It's just probably more than we're used to consuming. But we as females do need to get a little bit more protein in our diet. Some good food sources are lean meats, poultry, fish, eggs, dairy, legumes, nuts, and seeds as well. So if you are a vegan or vegetarian, then it's very important that you focus on making sure you get your protein from grains such as quinoa. Quinoa is the one grain that is a complete protein. So typically to have a complete protein profile or to get adequate protein, you would need a meat. But if you are a non-meat eating person, quinoa is a very good substitute for that. And so some of the other things I wanted to talk about is food safety, because it's very important, especially in pregnancy, because you want to make sure that you keep yourself and your baby safe. And food safety is important also during the postpartum period, because now you've went through birth, you went through labor, birth. Now your body is in another compromised part and is very vulnerable. So that's why it's important to make sure that you take care of yourself with food safety as well. When you are pregnant, you want to avoid any raw or undercooked seafood, eggs, or meats, which can be harmful because they can have bacteria or parasites that could be harmful to you. You want to make sure you practice really good hand hygiene. Make sure that you're washing your hands good, washing your utensils, sanitizing your surfaces, just to remove the risk of contamination. A lot of people don't think about the fact that maybe if you have raw meat, you want to make sure your raw meat is not stored at the top of your refrigerator. And the reason I say this is because you know how when you go in a grocery store and you go to pick up like maybe some chicken, and you know how it feels wet underneath, like your hand will feel wet, and then you'll get one of those wipes and you'll sanitize your hand. That's why they have the wipes over there. Well, you don't want any of that same runoff going down to your other foods. So when you look inside your refrigerator, you do not want your raw meats at the top. You want your raw meats at the very bottom. So I don't know if you noticed, but if you look at your refrigerator, if they have a label on it, it usually says like a meat drawer. That should be at the very bottom. Your fruits and vegetables should be stored above it to make sure that you avoid any cross-contamination and you don't have any juices dripping or anything like that. Now, once you cook your meats, you can store your meats higher in your refrigerator because you've avoided that risk of things running off. So, one of the next things is a lot of times it's hard when you're pregnant and to change some of the things that you eat. Like maybe you don't like pasteurized dairy products, but it is important to try to make sure that you do use them during the time that you are pregnant because you want to avoid any unpasteurized dairy products because that's how a lot of bacteria is killed. It's through that pasteurization process. So you want to avoid any unpasteurized dairy products. Now, sometimes you may see online, like take for instance on Facebook or Instagram, you may see people like promote, oh, this is the healthier way to go. Those people generally do not have a degree in science. Those people are generally just speaking about what happens from their personalized experience. And the research has shown that unpasteurized dairy products can be harmful. And this is such a short period of time in life, to be honest, when you are pregnant. So it's best to err on the side of caution. One of the other things I wanted to touch on is, lunch meats are convenient. And I don't know if everybody heard about the Boar's Head food recall, but there was a large food recall for what is my favorite brand personally for Boar's Head meat. So one of the things I encourage my clients to do while they're pregnant, especially, is to heat their lunch meats. So take for instance, if you're working outside of the home and you want to go grab a sub, um, one of the places that I like to recommend is maybe Firehouse Subs. I'm in Florida, I'm not sure where everybody else is, but anytime you get a sub, I would say make sure you get it steamed and your meat is steaming because that's going to help reduce any bacteria that could be harmful to you or your baby because a baby is susceptible to getting sick from some of these things like listeria that could be in lunch meat in utero. You don't want to get, something that can affect your baby while they're in the womb because you don't want them to get sick. There's only so many things that physicians can do for you when your baby is in utero and sick. And so that's why we want to avoid putting ourselves in any of those positions where we may have to deal with it. Okay, so it's essential to prioritize these key nutrients to ensure a healthy pregnancy, but also postpartum period. And a balanced diet that includes like a variety of nutrient-rich foods can help these requirements. So I'm going to see if my video works. And I may have to talk through it because my full version did not get uploaded. So let's watch this. And basically, I'm just going to take you kind of like behind the scenes with a normal day. I honestly think this might have been Monday. I just went to the grocery store and got some things I normally would get. And I wanted to show you how it's not that difficult to put things together if you're a person who likes to cook or if you're a person who doesn't like to cook. Either way, these key components of these foods are really what I want you to focus on. Okay, let me see what happens. Okay, so as you can see, I grabbed some chicken breast and I grabbed what's considered a crowd favorite in my family, which is grapes. They're simple. Broccoli is simple and easy and microwavable. And I grabbed some potatoes just to round it out. I like to cook, so I went ahead and chopped up some leftover stuff I had because I didn't want it to go bad. And I'll talk to you about what those two are in a minute. So you can see I just got the pan ready, got it hot. I usually take longer to do this, but I was real hungry that day, y'all. And I like my food flavored, so I added some seasoning to my foods. Even though it's frozen and it's hard with frozen meats because the seasoning tends to slide off, So you'll see me add seasoning on there a few times because it's gotta taste good. Otherwise, I'm not gonna eat it. And neither are my kids. So here are some things I use to make it simple. I bought all this stuff myself. I don't represent any brands, but that was minced garlic. It's just easier not to chop it once I come home from work. That is Sazon. That is oregano. This is lemon pepper. This is just seasoned salt and onion powder. And sometimes people ask how I know what to mix. I don't know why I showed y'all oregano twice, but I did. And there's the onion. I just mix what tastes good to me. And the last thing was some ginger. And I use the ginger and the onion, and I also use lemon. So I'll talk about why I use those things in a minute. There's some vegetable broth. I really just added it for flavor. And on top of there, you'll see that I have some herbs. And to be honest, I bought those herbs for a different dish and just didn't want to waste any food. So that's the reason why I did. But just to add on here, like the vitamin, the lemon, I added on there for the extra vitamin C principle. So one, lemon tastes good on stuff. So I sprinkled it on there because one, it tastes good. But two, I also sprinkled it on there because that has that extra vitamin C and it's going to help our bodies absorb that iron a little bit better. As you see on the side, I have the onion and the garlic inside the dish as well. And I tend to add those to dishes just because they have anti-inflammatory properties. So like say for instance, if you are doing something and you know how sometimes your muscle aches and your muscle hurts, it's just like another anti-inflammatory, just like people normally take ibuprofen, you can use different foods to help you rid your body of inflammatory situations. And I just squeezed that on there because my little thingy bobber wasn't working right. And the next thing you'll see is I just stuck the broccoli in the microwave, y'all. I was not trying to be standing there all day long cooking this meal. And then my broccoli is seasoned because I like my food to be flavored and taste well. There's the herbs. Again, I showed you, and there's the complete plate. So that right there was just kind of putting it all together. And like I said before, the reason why I chose all those things are because they relate back to the things that we looked at. Take for instance the chicken. The chicken is a good source of protein. I think that chicken is like 23 grams of protein per serving. And remember how on that other page it said we wanted 71 grams of protein a day. So now you've had that chicken, so you just got like a huge chunk of your protein that came from dinner, and you could pair that with and then it also has iron in it. And so we paired it with something with the extra vitamin C by using the lemon, it's helping your body absorb more iron and use your iron better. The broccoli is high in not only fiber, but it's also really rich in calcium, which we talked about before. I'm going to go back just really quickly while I talk about these. So it's not only rich in calcium, but it's also rich in folic acid. So see how if you eat certain things or just think about what you eat a little bit, it helps you get everything you need without it being too big of a deal. And I know I'm speaking from, having a degree in this, but I try to make it like super simple and make sure you could get things you like. And you see with the iron, you see the chicken over in the corner with the iron, and then the protein as well. And so now I'm going to go for, I guess my other thing did come up. Anyways, we're going to talk about essential components for a healthy pregnancy and postpartum. So maintaining a balanced diet, which we just went over, staying properly hydrated, and also incorporating movement is very important. A lot of times people forget about some parts of that. So proper hydration is very important. Depending on where you live, you will have to be careful with hydration and just making sure you get enough. Especially if you live in a state where it is hot, like especially these southern states, you want to make sure you're getting enough to replenish your body. So the reason for hydration and why it's so important is when you're pregnant, it's important to maintain the amniotic fluid, which surrounds and protects your baby. Um, postpartum and pregnancy, it aids in relieving constipation. It also helps decreases headaches, fatigue, and dehydration as well. When you're breastfeeding, your milk is primarily composed of water. So making sure you get adequate hydration is very important because it could determine how much milk you're actually producing and putting out. Postpartum is a time where your body needs to replenish all these fluid stores. Like, think about it. In postpartum, you just released a whole human. You've released your body of generally most of the fluid that was surrounding this human. And then you have other bodily secretions that happen during birth. So you want to make sure that you're replenishing your fluid stores. So as far as hydration as well, like postpartum women are at risk of dehydration, especially if you're breastfeeding. So you want to make sure that you're taking care of making sure you get about 8 to 10 cups a day. If it is hard for you to remember to drink because it gets very busy in postpartum, especially with another taking care of another human, you want to make sure that you can set alarm to your phone. So usually I tell my clients to please just set an alarm for every hour. And that way I know they've drank something. So every time you hear that bell, just get something to drink when you're awake. Please do not wake up out of your sleep in your nap to drink because sleep is so important and key, especially in the postpartum period. When you think about what you're drinking, a lot of times people think only of like water. Water is not your only source. Remember, any herbal teas, any milk, any kind of water you have from fruits and vegetables, all of this contributes to your daily fluid intake. So if you're a caffeine drinker, make sure that you limit yourself to, during pregnancy, I generally say 2 cups of coffee or caffeine a day. And the reason why is because a lot of these beverages that contain caffeine can pull some of the water and the fluid off of you. It works kind of like as a diuretic, and a diuretic is something that pulls fluid from the body. And at this time, you're trying to hydrate and keep your body well hydrated. So it does like the opposite of what you want it to do. And when you're in postpartum, generally I try to say limit it to 3 cups of coffee a day, just because for the same reasons, you don't want this extra fluid coming out for you. So movement, I put movement in here because it's important for pregnancy and postpartum. Obviously, we are not trying to do a lot of movement as soon as we have a baby. That is a time of rest. Don't get it mixed up. Like, this is a time of rest right after you have a baby. But when you can, especially if you have a cesarean, you want to start being able to, like, take short walks. Even if your walk is to the end of your driveway, like, you do not have to go for a long walk. The other thing that moms need too is sun. And getting a little bit of sunshine on you helps not only for your mood, but also for your vitamin D enhancement as well. So moving is really important. And I emphasize this to moms that are pregnant, especially because a lot of people don't realize, like, your legs are the motor to your labor. Like, if you have strong legs, that helps you move around and maneuver your body in labor so you could birth your baby down. But it's important also for your postpartum period and making sure that you can get around and do your what we call activities of daily living. Of course, we need assistance, but just making sure that you feel like you could get up and go to the bathroom safely, making sure that you feel like when you do take a shower, like you can stand in your shower for an appropriate amount of time and wash yourself. So the American College, or what we call ACOG right there, they recommend 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week during pregnancy. And it doesn't matter if these are like broken up into 10-minute increments or anything like that. It just matters that you get some movement in. And this is going to help you because very soon that baby will be a toddler and they will be running all over the place. So getting some movement in is good because your body is going to be moving in ways you literally never moved, because babies are, they can't walk at first. So you're going to do a lot of bending, a lot of squatting. Toddlers are a bit wild once they start walking. They go everywhere and they do everything and they do it all quickly. So making sure you get movement in is going to be very beneficial for you, not only during the beginning stages, but as your child continues to grow. So postpartum nutrition. So breastfeeding requires nutrients to support milk production and your health. You want to make sure, like, I think sometimes, especially in our society as females, we are so used to, yeah, people give birth every day, but sometimes you have to stop and just appreciate what your body just did. Appreciate the fact that you have new life in the entire universe. Like, this is actually a really big deal. Making sure that you think about the fact that you just spent a long time creating a life. You need to allow yourself time to heal and regain your strength. There is no reason you should be rushing it. You should be treating your body as precious as the thing that you just created. So just remember that for your own self, because sometimes it's easy to get so busy that we forget how important it is that we physically take care of ourselves. And that's very important in a postpartum period. And so also postpartum nutrition is important for mental health. There's foods that I call mood foods, basically, and a lot of them are high in vitamin D. If you live in a northern state, I generally recommend that you supplement vitamin D because you will not be able to get enough sun, especially with fall coming and winter coming shortly behind it. You want to make sure you're getting enough vitamin D. And the calcium we mentioned earlier helps your body absorb adequate vitamin D and get good vitamin D from your foods as well. So postpartum plan. A lot of times people spend a bunch of time planning their baby shower, planning their baby's room, and don't think about planning their postpartum at all. And I beg of you to just take a moment and make sure you take a couple of days, just a couple of hours, a few days, just thinking it through because you need a support system. Who can you rely on? Who can help you cook? What resources do you have? Do you qualify for WIC? If you qualify for WIC, making sure you go ahead and you get your food coupons and everything taken care of. Make sure they know what your plan is. And if you're on WIC, they actually do give you additional foods and more foods in your package if you are breastfeeding. So just so you know that, it allow you to buy more foods that have more nutrients so you could create more nutrients. So now that you thought of your support system, you want to know how can they help? Can they cook? I mean, maybe you don't like their food. Don't ask them to cook for you. Ask them to give you a gift card. Can they order something for you? Create a list of places you like to eat from with your complete order. You know, maybe you like your burger with no tomato. So go ahead and put it on your phone. And then if you have friends that you can rely on or family you can rely on, you could go ahead and give this to them prior to your delivery or shortly after. And that takes a lot of thinking out of the mix for you. Because I mean, everybody jokes about it, but that what's for dinner is really annoying. Seriously, especially after you have a new baby. So you want to make sure that you can kind of like take some of that burden off of yourself of thinking about what to eat all the time. Um, and you know how it says, what can they help with? Ordering, cooking, picking up essentials. You know how when you're pregnant and you have so many people call you, especially if you don't live close to your friends and family, and they're like, oh, I wish I could help. I create a list for my clients. This is how they can help you. That you can ask them to buy you a gift card for your local grocery store. You could ask them to buy you a Visa gift card, a MasterCard gift card. All of those things help you with making sure you're taking care of yourself in postpartum and especially your nutrition in postpartum. If you have a friend that lives far, but like my one of my best friends, she lives in Portland. Um, I have her address. My family members, I have their address. I can send them food. And just making sure you're taking care of yourself is very important because it helps set you up for successful breastfeeding a lot. So on this one, I wanted to make sure you knew to focus more on whole foods in your postpartum period. That's going to really help you when it comes to breastfeeding. Making sure you have good mood foods, and you could look up high vitamin D foods. Making sure your foods are easy to digest, avoid fried or greasy foods. And please do not stop taking your prenatal vitamin because that's very important for your lactation success. I'm going to show you this video. I will tell you right now, this is me and another dietitian, and her internet was running so slow. So there's going to be like some times in there where it sounds choppy, but I love the information. So that's why I wanted to play it. And it's really short.
We can't hear anything. I don't hear anything on my end.
You have to
Oh,
share.
I'm sorry.
So
You don't
when-
hear anything?
No.
Yeah, where you share your screen, you have to check the box that says share audio.
Okay. And okay, hold on 1 second. I am not finding that, so I will tell y'all what it said. I'll make it easy. So basically what we talked about is just focusing on whole foods and making sure that you focus on foods that are not greasy, are not going to be like very heavy in fat, but may feel heavy, like you feel nice and full. So you want to stick to stews, you want to stick to soups. Generally what I do is I tell moms like during your pregnancy to plan for a good postpartum period, especially if you're breastfeeding. If you have family members that you know, like if your mom is close or someone else that you're close to is close, and they make like your favorite aunt makes something that you love, ask them to make extra, and then and ask them to put it straight in their freezer, and they give it to you and you can put it in your freezer and you can have it during your postpartum period. But the other reason I call good mood foods is think about those dishes that just make you happy, because they're the dishes that you had surrounded by either friends and family or a really good time, or just like it's just a dish that's your jam. You want to have those things accessible to you easily during postpartum period. So I usually say to put them in a good Ziploc bag, and you can lay them flat and let them cool flat in your freezer. And then to make space, you could stack them up kind of like lining up paper in your freezer. And you could just put them in a line and line them up with each other. And then that way you can have some things to just pull out of your freezer instead of always feeling like you have to order out. And then as you get further along in your postpartum period and you actually have time to make something to eat, you can make something simple like what I did. Most of those things are frozen, and they don't take a lot of time. And I could have cooked that chicken any kind of way. I preferred it in that pan because that's just what I wanted at the moment. But I could have made it faster for myself and put it in the oven and just set it and forget it. Or I could have put it in an air fryer, or I could have put it in my Instapot. Like I could have done it many other ways to make it simple for myself. I just felt like cooking that day. Okay, so in summary, pregnancy, postpartum, lactation, and nutrition are all intricately linked. They impact not only the mother, but they also impact the baby. And I put a picture in here. So I was breastfeeding mom. This is from my last child in 2015, y'all. So you can see she's a little bit older. But I participated in the public breastfeeding awareness program, are basically like an online thing that they use to advocate for breastfeeding wherever you are. And so I am a big advocate for breastfeeding and making sure you take care of yourself, because your nutrition will really impact that milk. You'll see that the more you eat well, the better milk you make. Like your milk is thicker and frothier, and you feel like you have more milk than if you're actually not eating that well and not being able to take care of yourself properly. And this is how to reach me. So like Rita said, I'm a registered dietitian, I'm a doula, I'm also a 4th trimester fitness instructor, which I honestly, y'all, just figured it out. I loved it. I went to a class for myself, and then I couldn't focus on it at the time, so I took the class again. fell in love with it, and then I became an instructor. And I do like private classes and nutrition information. So if you have any questions about this, just send me a email or just send me a message, or you can even text me if you want to, because I know nutrition can be a lot. If you need any resources, I can help you out. And that is all for me.
Thank you so much. That was so awesome. I appreciate you coming on and sharing that information. At this time, we're going to, if anyone has any questions, please ask them. And then we're going to do some giveaways. And so we've got 3 giveaways we're going to do. So if you have questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. I know Erica has to leave out of here within the next 10 minutes or something like that. Erica, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So anyone has any questions before we start the giveaway process? Any questions, anyone? Please put them in the chat or unmute your mic, and then you can answer the question.
Yes, do you teach doula class?
I don't teach any doula classes. I teach nutrition classes though. I teach nutrition classes for clients, like pregnant people, but I also am about to start a series for doulas because I've realized that a lot of times doulas don't really know what to do as far as nutrition with their clients. So that is a series that I plan on starting in the beginning of the year. Like I've already been working on it. But just making sure, like doula clients know how to help their client that may have anemia or anything like that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I do see a question down here. Talk a little bit about being a vegan in pregnancy and lactation. So there's some new research that shows being a vegan sometimes doesn't really serve people. It really depends on your body. So I tell my clients, because I've had clients that are like, oh, I was a vegan and I just got pregnant and I want to meat. I'm like, if your body craves something and it's okay with your principles, then go ahead and do it. If it's not okay with your principles, there's other things that we can do to make sure you have what you need. But when you're a vegan, I usually tell them focus on those high protein foods, those beans, those legumes, the quinoa, making sure that you're combining. So just like a person would combine spaghetti and meatballs, I would want them to combine like beans, rice, and like a tomato base, like a pico on top. Does that make sense? To help their body absorb that iron in there and making sure that they get enough. Also making sure that they use a fortified milk, like whatever milk they take. So it could be almond milk, it could be soy milk, it could be anything like that. So making sure that they're getting enough of those things. But when you're a vegan and you're lactating, you want to make sure that you're still eating well to make sure you're producing enough milk. And you definitely want to make sure you're still taking your prenatal just like anybody else, but you may also need like a supplement, like take for instance, if you notice, um, let's say you're month 3 out and your baby's starting to sleep a little bit better and you're eating better, but you notice that you're just so tired still. You want to go to your doctor and make sure that they're looking at your blood levels to make sure you don't have any anemia or anything going on. And then you also want to make sure that you're focusing on maybe foods that are going to help you with like some B vitamins or taking a B vitamin supplement as well, because a lot of times B vitamins are very heavy in meats, and so my vegan moms may miss out on that.
This is Karen. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Hi.
Okay.
Thank you for the presentation. I had a question about, supplemental products like lactation cookies, or, they make drops that help your supply, especially like now I have mastitis. What are your thoughts on those types of supplemental products? Do you think that they're helpful? Could they be harmful?
I think that each person is an individual, just has to see what works for them. Because like take for instance, like the mother's milk tea, some people because it has fenugreek in it, sometimes they work for people and sometimes they don't work for people. I think in the beginning, the best thing to do is first just try to just breastfeed your baby as frequently as you need to and try to get yourself established for your milk pattern, right? Because a lot of times people like panic about their milk supply before they've even given it a chance to be established. But as far as nutrition, making sure you're eating adequately, oatmeal and oats have been a big hit with making sure that you're getting enough because that's what they usually put in those lactation cookies. They put oatmeal inside those lactation cookies to make sure that your body is creating more. So if you have oatmeal at home and you want to just eat the oatmeal, like try the oatmeal instead of necessarily getting the lactation cookies. But it just really depends on like how you see. I will mention this. So y'all, I'm an old mom too. Like my oldest daughter is 23. My youngest daughter is 9. So the concept of when your milk comes in, when I hear people say that, that's like such a new concept. Like that's nothing we even talked about when I was breastfeeding 25 years ago. You just allowed your body to do what your body did. And then when it didn't feel right, you went and saw a specialist. You went, I mean, I went and saw a lactation consultant and that helped me through it. So the best thing to do is I know it's so simple to like Google everything, but go get a lactation consultant, have somebody you see prior to your delivery and make contact with them because they could do home visits, they could do virtual visits. Like that's literally their best way to go. And then based on what feedback they give you, then that's when you start thinking about the supplements and the other things. That's just my opinion, because sometimes it could be something else going on and you need that professional to kind of like, oh, wait, hold on. Like it could be this. And that's very helpful and beneficial. That way you don't waste time doing something that may or may not help you anyway.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I see someone asked me about calcium, different types of calcium supplements. So if you feel like your multivitamin, I mean, your prenatal vitamin already has enough calcium in it, you don't necessarily have to take a different type of calcium supplement. But I will get back to you on that because I can't remember off the top of my head, but it may be this migraine. So I'll get back to you about the calcium carbonate or citrate, and I'll get it to Rita, and then that way she could send it out afterwards. But I'm gonna just take a picture of this one because I don't think that it really, really matters, especially when you're eating enough in food, if that makes sense. Okay.
Any more questions before we get started? Because I know we have the other guest speaker coming on.
Just want you to, when you start sharing with doulas, keep me in mind because on a lot of those things you touched on, I had to learn the hard way from having soft teeth, from having a calcium deficiency. So that is information that would be so helpful to know up front in
Mhm.
the stages where you're planning to expand your family, or you and your husband or your significant others trying to get pregnant. Like knowing
Yeah,
things that you need ahead of time would help so much and save so much heartache later. So thank you so much for
really
that.
does. I mean, even as a registered dietitian, I'll be honest with you, with my last pregnancy, I was literally so sick, like so sick the entire time. Like I hated taking my prenatal. But because I have the knowledge, I knew, oh, I could take a liquid vitamin.
Mhm.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So then I took the liquid vitamin for a while, and then I was like, I don't want to take a vitamin. Then the next thing you know, I started getting soft nails.
Wow.
You have
Wow.
options though. It's like you
It's
when
like,
you have
so
options.
that's what I had to make sure that I was doing. Make sure I went back to being like, okay, like I have the knowledge, I need to take this. And then eventually it got to the point where, because I did extended breastfeeding, so it got to the point where I just took a multivitamin because I don't need to take a prenatal 3 years out. Like, she wasn't nursing that much. Not at 3.
We've got one more question in there for you, Miss Erika.
Oh, what kind of tea do I suggest? Okay, so that it depends on what you got going on, but usually something simple like a chamomile tea will be really good. Um, and if you have a doula, talk to your doula because close to the end, I usually have my clients getting the raspberry red leaf tea to get their uterus ready for having that baby. But chamomile is really good because it helps calm down that nervous system. One of the things I do suggest sometimes too is, I don't know if y'all have ever seen, it's a it's a natural supplement. It's called Natural Calm. And if anybody ever has what they call, oh, what do they call it? It slipped from my brain, but basically, like, you start having like contractions kind of early, but it's not like the kind of contractions your doctor wants to keep you in a hospital with. Like, it in your uterus is just, it's just like it won't calm down, because that happens sometimes when if you have multiple pregnancies. Natural Calm has magnesium in it,
Mhm.
and I drink it like a tea. I just put a little bit in there and I add the hot water and I drink it like a tea. And sometimes that really helps, especially if you're constipated, because that magnesium will help your whole body out. It'll
Yeah.
help your whole entire body to relax. So if you feel like you're super stressed, because pregnancy is a very stressful time and you're constipated, go right ahead and have that Natural Calm, and that'll help you out. Most doctors will recommend that for their clients, especially if they're kind of like a holistic type of doctor. Well, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for y'all attention and y'all time. I know y'all have a busy schedule. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.